welcome to Cover Story. This week we catch up with NCP leader and Union Cabinet Minister Praful Patel. At a time when the Congress is planning to promote Rahul as its Prime Ministerial face, this is also a time when there are rumours that the NCP and the BJP is cozying up together. We talked to Praful Patel about his party's plans for Eid 2014. Praful Patel, the Cabinet Minister for Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises, is better known as Sharad Pawar's right-hand man in the NCP. But Praful is best remembered for his stint as Aviation Minister at a time when India was just opening up its skies. More importantly, it was also during his watch that India modernized its ramshackle airports to world-class standards. A successful businessman who owns the Rs 500 crore CJ Group, Praful is known as one of the reformist faces in the government. And he doesn't hide his impatience with the slowdown in policy making. In a candid interview, he expresses his impatience with the policy paralysis in government and interestingly hedges NCP's bets over both Rahul and Modi. Hello and welcome to NewsX, Mr. Patel. First of all, I'd like to begin with this issue of the Congress. You know, they have decided in all probability to announce Rahul as the Prime Ministerial candidate for the next elections. How does the NCP feel about this?
Well, I think as far as the candidate for Prime Ministership, I think it's a UPA issue. I think they should, and everybody should discuss it with the constituents of the UPA. Well, as far as a political party's leadership is concerned, that is purely a prerogative of the political party. Like my political party decides who will be the leader of my party, and so on for the Congress. As far as the UPA is concerned, certainly, I mean, we have no reservations about any individuals, but the fact is that this has to be discussed and decided at the UPA Coordination Committee meeting. Besides that, I think why judge anything prematurely? The Congress yet hasn't formally announced any name, and I think we should await the formal announcement before I can or a party can react on that.
But Mr. Pawar has already reacted. He said that he would not like to work under Rahul's leadership in a recent interview. Would your party be open to this announcement?
No. What Mr. Pawar basically has been saying is that he's not said anything about being averse to Mr. Rahul Gandhi. All he said is that he himself would not like to be working. Maybe he's talked of a generational shift. Maybe he's talked of time to move on and give newer people in our party or the younger faces an opportunity to represent in the government. The fact is that Mr. Pawar certainly, while he is certainly going to be in the Parliament, he is going to be in Parliament in March by way of the Rajya Sabha, and he will represent our party, of course, in Parliament. He will be the leader of the parliamentary party. So there's no issue in terms of his. A lot of people ask questions whether he's hanging up his boots. I don't think that is correct. The NCP is led by him, will be led by him for a long time to come, and I think he's made it very clear. In terms of his, a lot of people ask questions whether he's hanging up his boots. I don't think that is correct. The NCP is led by him, will be led by him for a long time to come, and I think he's made it very clear that he would also like the younger leadership to have more representation, maybe in government or in the party.
More on the younger leadership in NCP later, but again back to the Congress. What is Mr. Pawar's equation with Rahul? Because from what we get to hear is that he's not very comfortable working with Rahul.
No, I don't think he has much of a rapport with Mr. Rahul Gandhi, but that's understandable. He's always been a senior leader, earlier in the Congress, then of course when the NCP was formed in 1999. He's had only an opportunity to work with Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and the senior leaders of the Congress party. Now, I'm sure Mr. Pawar would not be as comfortable with the next generation as he would be with his generation. So these are things which keep happening. I think we shouldn't read too much into that. But the fact is certainly, as far as Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Mr. Sharad Pawar, obviously they do not have the knowledge of each other as much as a contemporary of his time would have.
But Mr. Pawar also said after the assembly election defeat, where the Congress did very badly, he said that the Congress needs a decisive leadership. Now, this was seen as a criticism of Rahul Gandhi. Was it meant to be that?
Well, I don't know whether he spoke about any individual, but he certainly did reflect some of his views on the overall situation as it's emerged now. And certainly I think people do look up to decisive leadership, and there's nothing you can deny in terms of people's expectations to that point. At the same time, people also want effective leadership. People want to be able to address issues as they arise. And a lot of, I think, problems of the government in the last couple of years have been more on account of our making, in the sense that we have not sometimes stood up for policies, we've not stood up for certain things events which have unfolded, or we've not addressed issues on time. I think, cumulatively, a lot of people are very upset with the fact that we have not been able to, keep the momentum of growth and other things going. So I think we have to recognize that. How can one say that the political environment as it stands today has been vitiated? And as I said, if we had worked towards, defending some of the policies, like on telecom, like on coal, I think it could have been explained to people better what exactly the government meant. And if at all there was an area where people had done something wrong, that could have been differentiated as corrupt and could have been, addressed, and action could have been taken, rather than everything became an issue as if, everything fundamentally from A to Z was wrong. So I think it needed to be, handled better. I think to some extent there's no point crying over spilt milk now after things and events have unfolded. And, a lot of politics, I think, works on perception. And I think the perception of the government currently had taken a beating because of, not addressing some of these issues on time. Like, see, the first UPA one. A decisive step was taken in terms of the Indo-US nuclear deal. And people, said, all right, doesn't matter, the government has taken, a bold decision, whatever it may be.
So you're saying basically the marketing is where you went wrong, or was it also in the decision making?
No, I think marketing is one thing.
The communication.
Course, as I said, perception, communication. But I think certain things, as a result of which there has been an effect on the economy, things have slowed down, and a lot of major projects which should have actually moved forward. There were lots of, I would say, actually some of the issues, people, everything is well meant, but it's only giving all the goodies. You can't eat chocolates every day. You also need to have a little bit of different variety in terms of, I'm not talking equating sweet and food and everything in politics is the same. But, this is something where, there are certain decisions which may not sound very populist, which may not be very, understood well immediately. But you have to sometimes take the right decisions. And those decisions at times, because of the environment which has been created in the last few years, I think everybody's just been soft pedaling and saying, let's not, get into any area where even the slightest of controversy can create, a negativity. And I think as a result of which, I think the over-activism on every count, I would say over-activism within government, some of our ministers in the government, some of our own colleagues, and I think, all this has cumulatively built up to a situation where people have started believing anything which anybody says about it.
But this environment that is being built up, one is of course this whole thing of stop economy, which the Congress, do you think this welfare policies of the Congress have affected the government? Because at the end, it's what the Congress says the government does.
I think, as far as welfare is concerned,
are we overdoing the welfare bit?
In a country like India, we do not, brush aside the issue that welfare is not important. It is important, but it has to be balanced judiciously. There has to be lots of, everything has a pros and a con. There has to be, it has to be understood. There's also the economic momentum. People say anything about, other issues, but just tell me, how do we solve the problems of India without economic development? The country has to move forward. And I think, a lot of this over-activism which is being seen around, I'm talking now outside of government also. I think, it's very easy to, stir passions, stoke a fire. It's very difficult to douse it. It's very difficult to then, say that, no, this is probably not right. Because people get used to a certain thing and people do not wish to then go back, and then that's where the problem starts.
Is over-activism is a reference to the Aam Aadmi Party, is it?
No, I'm talking within the government.
Within the government,
Party, Aam Aadmi Party is something which, I mean, okay, in a democracy, if people have voted them, who am I to judge them whether they are good or bad? Time will judge them. Eventually situations will develop, and I'm sure that what they have been talking and they are talking cannot be sustained in, long term. But anyway, now, as I said, it's very easy to stoke a fire. People can always be aroused. People can always be, in the name of whatever, whether it's corruption, whether it's free water, free electricity, or any other issues. People, of course, there may be an issue which cannot be ignored, that people are unhappy over certain things. But, suddenly to only take a soft spot and just keep on, hitting at that, it's very easy populism. Today, you say, I'll have mohalla sabhas. I mean, why is an MLA elected then? Why do you have a municipal councillor? Why do you have all this, multiple hierarchy in our, overall decision-making process? I mean, why are we then, if I am an MP, or I am a minister, or I am an MLA, or I am a municipal councillor, I have to discharge my duty. I cannot say that I will pass it on to the Mohalla Sabha to finally take a call what I should be doing. Then what am I being elected for? And I am obviously being elected on a platform which has a political party's background, which has the policies of the political party well spelled out.
Lack of an infrastructure may in the end harm Aam Aadmi Party, thinking.
Because no, it's not a question of infrastructure. It's not a question of infrastructure. I wish them well, but I don't think it is sustainable. You cannot have governance the way they are trying to make it out to be. And
this SMS by plebiscite.
And simply by trying to say that every politician is bad, every politician has done only the wrong things. I mean, you see, nobody wants to, like I have never taken a government car. I don't take a rupee salary for the last 10 years. I don't think it's necessary for me to tom-tom. It's okay because this issue has come up, therefore I'm saying it. But I'm just saying that does it mean that I'm good or bad just because of that? I don't think so. There could be various ways to judge people. And I think simply by trying to say that I will not use a red beacon, okay, that's fine. It's your choice. Like I have a choice. I don't use a red beacon ever. But that's a choice which you exercise. But why are you making such a virtue out of it? Why are you making it such a, as if, is that the election issue? Is that something which is going to eventually change the fate of the nation? So I think there is a lot of, okay, there may be instances of some over, reach by some people who have, and I'm not trying to defend all people and by saying that everybody is fundamentally, doing just the right thing. Maybe there are wrong people who have created this kind of a negativity in the people's minds. But you can't just go that as a virtue and as a single platform. You have to do a lot more. Look at yesterday on Kashmir, our friend spoke something, then they go back and forth. I mean, why? Everything, are you going to take a kind of a plebiscite or a kind of a, people's reaction on every single thing?
But do you think Kejriwal should come into the prime ministerial race? There's a big debate going on whether, it's Rahul, Modi, and Kejriwal should also throw his hat in the ring if he is interested in
We are a very large country. I don't think anybody should try to, let him do well here. I think, as I said, we all wish him well. If people of Delhi have given him so much of adulation and support, let him at least do something here. And I'm sure he's a young guy. If he does well here, he has a long road ahead, and maybe he can also aspire for the highest chair. There's no issue. India is a genuine democracy. I think today, abhi aaye hai, or tomorrow you want to look at the next chair. I think it's, anyway, I have no words because this is not the season for politicians to express their views.
Would you call him a young man in a hurry?
Well, I don't know whether he's in a hurry or not, or whether I wish, as I said, I wish he understands the larger picture of government and governance. And as I said, everybody is being misunderstood at this juncture. So I think his word is the best word at the moment. So let him have his moment under the sun, and let him prove, as I said. I mean, we have no issues. He's been given an opportunity, even willy-nilly by the Congress. So good for them.
Talking about moments, when is Mr. Pawar's moment going to happen? Do you see that he may have a prime ministerial chance in the next elections?
See, Mr. Pawar has always said it on many occasions that, we are a small party. We cannot start with the
but then how do you spin a
presumption that we have a chance to become the Prime Minister.
No, in India you do have a chance.
No, see, I do not rule out anything in Indian politics. We never thought of Aam Aadmi Party and Kejriwal becoming the Chief Minister of Delhi. So there is no question of ruling out anybody, including Mr. Pawar. But I'm being realistic. The second thing is, if you ask about an individual and his capability, certainly he's a tall leader. He's very seasoned. He's seen, various situations in the country. And with 50 years of legislative experience, a good administrator. People may say anything and judge him in whichever way, but the fact is, he's a seasoned politician, seasoned administrator. And therefore, if anybody has a chance, and why not him, the answer is yes, of course, he also can have a chance and he can aspire. But the point is also that we are being realistic, that we don't put ourselves in that situation where, we are the front runners. We certainly are not.
But he is also a chance, and he has also a lot of good many friends also. He has cutting across party lines. Would Mr. Pawar consider an alliance with the BJP ever if it props him up?
See, I don't talk about which party or anything, but India is now in for coalitions, which has been for quite some time. It will be even more in the future. The days of a central party holding anchor and saying that, yes, I will be always the fulcrum around which politics will revolve, I think those days are gone.
I think you just dashed Mr. Modi's hopes.
No, I'm not trying to dash anybody's hopes, but that's a reality. I mean, Mr. Modi can also be the Prime Minister, so can anybody else be the Prime Minister, but you've got to have really, a party which has been anchored in, like centrist politics. And I have no issues. See, tomorrow, if even Mr. Modi becomes, why should, there's a lot of hoo-ha about people saying that this guy is good or that guy is good. Ultimately, people of India are going to vote for X person. You may disagree with Aam Aadmi Party, but if he's been elected, who am I to disagree? The same way, if tomorrow Mr. Modi is elected, or if the situation so demands that he may be able to provide the most stable government in the country, what is for me to object about it? Ultimately, India will need a government. Everybody can have an individual view. I read things about so-and-so being bad and so-and-so being good. Somebody talks of Rahul Gandhi, somebody writes something about Modi or whoever. I mean, at the end of the day, there will be always individual views in such a large country.
But what about the 2002 riots? Is that okay with...
section of people's views be the view of the country? There will always be a government. Even a government with 400 MPs will also have 143 MPs opposing it. So that doesn't make the 400 illegitimate or the 143 also not in the position, or they don't have the right to speak their mind. So I think this is all going to happen.
You're using Manmohan Singh's mandate argument when he said that we came to power and UPA to forget about corruptions. Same thing, forget about 2002 riots. If Modi comes to power, then it's okay.
No, I am nobody to judge that, honestly, because he has been elected thrice in a row from Gujarat. And who am I or anybody in this country to question the mandate of the people of Gujarat? He's fought for the chief ministership there and he's won. He's won convincingly. If tomorrow the people of India want to vote for him and decisively vote for him, who am I to question that?
So is this the argument you're going to use if the NCP ever decides to support the BJP on BJP led by Modi?
As I said,
do you see that happening?
I am not trying to say that. We are with the UP.
So is this the argument you're going to use if the NCP ever decides to support the BJP on BJP led by Modi?
As I said,
do you see that happening?
I am not trying to say that. We are with the UPA, so we are not even...
Now, but I'm talking about 4 months later.
See, we are not talking of hypothetical situations. But the fact is, as I was only talking on the point of view of a mandate. If a mandate is for a person or a party, how can we, who may not agree with the person's policies or his programs, say that it's fundamentally wrong? It's the people of India. They have to, decide. And if they decide in a particular direction, I think nobody should question that.
Okay, but again, the Congress, you got the choice that's really going to come before, in terms of the two parties, is Modi or Rahul. Now, Rahul's leadership, you worked with Rahul for as an ally. How do you find him as a leader? Because look at what he's done in the last 3 months. He tore up an ordinance passed by your cabinet. He later on, Adarsh Committee, again a state government in which you're part of, he made them think a statement. I mean, this shoot and scoot kind of leadership is something you're happy with?
See, his interactions are only with his Congress party ministers or leaders. So we don't really know his mind. But what we judge from the outside in terms of a couple of instances, we don't go beyond that. We've also
He's only given us a couple of instances.
But NCP has also always said it, that it's for the Congress party, and it should have a firm line. It shouldn't have a line today to be changed tomorrow. Ultimately, as I said, politics is about perception, and people perceive then that the government does not, stand up to whatever decision it's taken. So it's better that a decision is well thought of, taken once, and once taken should be implemented to the last. It cannot be that you go back and forth, because that's where people do not appreciate. And I think it's not in the interest, and we as allies, we get unnecessarily caught into a situation where the Congress party takes a decision, and because we are lesser numbers in the cabinet, I mean, not to say that cabinet is not democratic, but we don't let cabinet decisions go largely by a mood. And therefore, if the Congress party has already made up its mind on a particular direction, it becomes very difficult for us. And then if you change that, it's embarrassing for us.
There are a lot of issues where you've gone along with the mood, like the food security bill. We know Mr. Pawar had certain objections, but at the end of the day, the Congress did have its way. Does it have this big brother attitude towards the allies?
But you see, it's but natural that a political party like the Congress will have, a sway over the larger decision-making process of the government. Mr. Pawar never objected to the food security bill per se. All he was trying to say is that he wanted to see that the agricultural production and situations where, God, forbidding, that some problems come up and we have lesser agricultural production and India has to import large quantities to be able to, supply to this food program. You have to think of all the pros and cons. I don't think he ever objected, and there is no reason to object to a scheme like the food security program.
Do you feel that NCP, Mr. Pawar has been made a whipping boy of the government? A lot of unpopular decisions are dumped on him, whether it's inflation, price of onions. A lot of it says, agricultural ministry ka problem hai. Then he has to come and explain. Does that happen?
No, I think sometimes there's a lot of misunderstanding being created about Mr. Pawar's role or his ministry, whereas actually the food ministry is given up more than almost 3 years ago. And he's certainly not looking after that at all. And most of these issues...
Is that why he gave it up to a Congress person?
No, in a way, he also felt that, if everything is being made to be, that he is a target of certain criticism, might as well handle it your way. We do not wish to come in the way of, a particular ministry being handled, if at all it suits, the Congress party or the government. It's fine for him.
Do you feel, you talked about this bad mood against the government. Is the NCP, because, will you be also getting caught in this whole discredit of the Congress? Because Congress is not a good word these days. By allying with them, the NCP is also falling in the same trap. Will you rethink your alliance? Everybody is left except you and Farooq Abdullah.
No, I don't think we should be judged in that way. That, we are not opportunistic, and that should not be the only word, which or the way it should be put. Certainly, you see, we are with the political party.
Then why are you with the Congress?
No, we are with the political... See, we have been in the government. We can't disassociate and say tomorrow, overnight, that we have nothing to do with you.
Okay, finally, just, I know we're running out of time, but just one final thing about you personally. You're a first-generation politician. Why did you get into politics? What was the big draw for you?
Well, let me clarify, though I am not a first-generation politician. Of course, there was a big gap between my father and passing away and I joining politics almost 20 years. But that notwithstanding, I started my career from the municipality. I was the president of Gondia municipality for 7 years before I came to Lok Sabha. So I am not just somebody who's been parachuted into Indian politics, but
I wonder who the references to.
I've completed 23 years of parliament non-stop, 4 times in the Lok Sabha and twice in the Rajya Sabha. So I feel I'm happy and I've accomplished, and I'm sure as long as we continue to do good for the people who we represent, I think we will be more years hopefully in parliament. We have to create and build this nation in various ways. It's not just, as I said earlier, that you give, free sops of water or electricity and you say that, this is the end of the road for the country. There'll be larger challenges. And I think everybody in politics and public life should understand that India is huge. India has immense, good and bad, things happening. And we really need to work all together with a single-minded focus that, we got to make that difference. And I think till that motivation is there, I'm continuing to be there.
Have you been in these 23 years, do you think you've been able to make some difference? You've been given some good ministries to handle, but do you feel that you've been able to make this difference?
Well, I think, yes, in civil aviation, one was able to bring about change. There may be
you entered a lot of controversy also.
No,
do you feel that
nothing. I think it was one of the very satisfying reporting experiences. We've been able to change the profile of the way people fly in India. People have really...
The ministry is now in the doldrums again after you left.
I speak only for the time I'm there, and I do not judge anybody after that. All I'm trying to say is that we've changed the airport infrastructure of the country. We've changed the way an average Indian flies in the country. They've got more choice, they've got more competition, better fares, there's so much of more connectivity. And I think these are things which are important. And this is how one thinks and one works. And I think even in the current ministry, we have been doing a lot of work, which we've got the electric vehicle mobility mission, which is now on track. We're trying to rebuild the auto industry for the second stage from 2016 to 2026. There are many new initiatives which we have, taken up in this ministry. So we are working, and wherever we work, maybe some are, more visible, some are less visible. But as I said, everybody has to work towards with a single-minded, focus that, we can make that little bit of difference in our own way.
Thank you for talking to NewsX. I'm glad we were able to ground this high flyer for at least 25 minutes. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was Praful at his political best. In fact, what I found most interesting was his comments on Narendra Modi. For the NCP may be allying with the Congress, but Praful didn't really share the Congress party's open condemnation of Modi, did he? On that note, it's time to say goodbye and see you again next week.